Hello guys, welcome back. In this tutorial, we are going to discuss the interview questions based on the topics process and schedulers. So the first question is, how is a process different from a program? Now the program is simply a code, that is a set of instructions written in a file. It is a passive entity and does not do anything. A program contains the instructions that are to be executed by the processor. Whereas, on the contrary, a process is an active entity. That is, when the processor executes the program, it becomes a process. For example, all the executable files, they are nothing but instructions, set of instructions. For example, the word.exe file is nothing but a set of instructions, and hence it is called a program. But when we double click it, it becomes a process and it behaves according to the instructions that are written in the Word file. Question number 2. Can more than one process be initiated from the same program? So the answer is yes. Whenever you run multiple instances of any application, for example Chrome or Word, now the base program remains the same. So if you are running the Chrome multiple times, your executable file remains the chrome.exe file itself. But once you double click it more than one time, you will see different windows. So each window refers to one Chrome process. Question number 3. Differentiate between long-term scheduler and short-term scheduler. Now if you look at this diagram, remember that there are three things: the job queue, the ready queue and the CPU. The long-term scheduler, denoted by LTS, lies between job queue and the ready queue, or in other words, the role of long-term scheduler is to bring in processes from the job queue into the ready queue, whereas the role of short-term scheduler is to select one of the process from the ready queue to be executed by the CPU. So the difference between these two schedulers is that the long-term scheduler is going to bring in processes into the RAM, whereas the short-term scheduler is going to select one of the process out of the ready queue to be allocated to the CPU. The next question is, why is it important to maintain a mix of CPU bound and IO bound processes in the RAM? Now remember that CPU bound processes are the ones which spend most of their time using the CPU, whereas the IO bound processes are those which spend most of their time using input-output devices. So if there is excess of CPU bound processes, the CPU will be busy, but the IO devices may be underutilized. Similarly, if the number of IO bound processes are more, the input-output devices will be utilized, but the CPU may remain idle. Hence, in order to ensure that both the CPU and the input-output devices are utilized to their fullest, it is important to have a mix of IO bound and CPU bound processes in the RAM. The next question is, how can you start a new process? Now the answer depends upon what interface you are using. If you are using the graphical user interface, then the most common way to start a process is by double clicking. Remember, whenever you double click on any application, that means you are starting a new process. But if you are using a command line interface, then you need to issue an appropriate command to start a process. Question number 6. How a child process gets its code section. Now we know that the fork system call is used to create a child process. Remember that the fork system call actually duplicates a process which we refer to as the child process. Now, since the child process is a duplicate of the parent, this means that the child process will have the same code as the parent. So the child gets its code section from its parent. It's actually the same code as the parent process. So make sure that you write the code of the parent process in such a manner that the child and the parent perform separate tasks. Question number 7. Which scheduler controls the degree of multi-programming? So the answer is long-term scheduler. Now degree of multi-programming means how many processes are present in the RAM at any given time. More the number of processes in RAM, more is the degree of multi-programming. Hence, the scheduler, which is responsible for bringing processes into the RAM, will control the degree of multi-programming, and that scheduler is long-term scheduler. Question number 8. What is the role of medium-term scheduler? Now, medium-term scheduler can be invoked under different situations. The first one is to maintain a mix of input-output bound and CPU bound processes. The long-term scheduler brings in a certain number of processes in the RAM for execution, but it has no way to know whether a process is IO or CPU bound. So after the first burst, if a process spends most of its time with CPU, then we call it a CPU bound process, and if it spends most of its time doing the input output, then it's called a IO bound process. Now if the OS analyzes that there are more CPU bound or IO bound processes, then the medium term scheduler swaps some of these processes with the new processes so that it can maintain the mix of IO bound and CPU bound processes. The second scenario is when a high priority process needs to be executed, but there is no space in the RAM to accommodate this new process. Then how to run this high priority process? This means that the OS needs to free some space in the RAM. Now this is the job of the medium term scheduler, which it does by swapping one of the process in the RAM with this new high priority process. Next question, how many child processes are created with the following code? So whenever you see such a code, fork written twice, 3 times, 4 times, always remember that the general formula is that the total number of processes will be 2 to the power n. N means how many fork statements are there back to back. So in this case there were 2. So 2 to the power 2 becomes 4. So total number of processes will be 4, whereas the child processes will be 2 to the power n minus 1. So 4 minus 1, 3. So just memorize this formula. Total number of processes 2 to the power n, child processes 2 to the power n minus 1. Now a similar situation, but the code is little different. Now the fork is not back to back. So if you can see this, the main process calls the fork, and then after the fork there is a condition if p greater than 0. So if the value of p is greater than 0, this means that this is the parent process, parent part. So this if statement will only be executed by the parent process. Now the parent process again calls fork. Okay, so this means that initially the parent process calls the fork and hence creates a child C1. Now the second fork is only executed by the parent and hence it creates another child. Okay, so in the previous scenario there are 2 child processes that are created and total number of processes are 3. So these were some of the questions related to process management. Hope it helps. Stay tuned for more such videos.